Have you ever wondered how the world's biggest companies make decisions in an era where the only constant is change? Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain on the art of science and decision making with today's guest, Dhiraj Rajaram, and he's the visionary founder of Mu Sigma, the first unicorn startup from India that is revolutionising how Fortune 500 companies solve complex problems. And my guest's journey is not just about building a successful company. It's about fostering a culture where learning trumps knowing. And problem solving is all about understanding the intricate dance of interactions. So, the big question is, how does a company like Mu Sigma stay ahead in this fast-paced world of technology and big data? And what can we all learn from their approach to navigating the unknowns of the future? Well, buckle up and hold on tight, because no matter where you're listening in the world, I'm going to beam your ears all the way to India, where we're going to delve into all these questions and many more as we attempt to uncover the principles and practices that drive innovation at the intersection of business and technology. So, a massive warm welcome to the show, Dhiraj. Can you tell everyone listening a little about who you are and what you do?
Yeah. Hey, I'm Dhiraj. I'm the founder of Mu Sigma. We happen to be a decision sciences company, which helps large Fortune 500 companies change the way they think about problem solving and use digital technologies, anything to do with data, analytics, predictive modeling, AI, all the good stuff to change the way they operate. We work with 140 Fortune 500 clients over more than 10 different industries. We also happen to be India's first unicorn, and we've had a good run. Over the last 2 decades, more than 15,000 people have been trained inside Mu Sigma on data science and what we think of, we like to call it decision sciences, because it's about the decision that matters.
Well, there were so many reasons I was excited to get you on the podcast today. Yes, an Indian unicorn, but also the fact that you've pioneered the distinctive approach in the analytics industry, particularly with the art of problem solving. So to set the scene for our conversation today, could you just explain the essence of this framework and how it empowers organizations to ultimately enhance their decision-making processes?
See, everything in life starts off as art because is a means of expression, and when it becomes explainable, it becomes science. And when it becomes, to make it scalable, you have to make it engineering. So things evolve that way, art to science and science to engineering. We learned through our interactions with many of the large Fortune 500 companies is we saw certain patterns. One was these organizations were going from a bigger is better world to a faster is better world. They are going from a world of competing on economies of scale to competing on economies of speed. They are going from building products and services to building experiences. So all these things meant for them to relook at the way they were viewing problem solving. The big insight we had was that problem solving in the past was governed by the foundational principle was very engineering oriented, very linear thinking oriented. In a world which was far more certain than today. The problem solving in the future, which is now, I would say, in a world filled with uncertainty, is extremely non-linear, and you have to think of problem solving as interactions a lot more. Your world, if you're a large Fortune 500 company, is not one or two big problems, but many, many small problems that are constantly interacting with each other. So the ability to see your work as network becomes extremely important. All work is network. and the ability to, mine the interactions. For example, if you're hydrogen and I am oxygen, the interaction between us could create water, and that's wonderful if it creates water, but it could also create hydrogen peroxide, and that's extremely poisonous. So the quality of interactions become more important than the individual entity in today's world. And imagine a world where technology is making everything more and more and more connected, more and more complex. So you'll have to figure out a way to see problem solving as interactions as quickly as possible. So that's what we do.
And also, I think at the pace of technological change at the moment means scaling decision-making capabilities is crucial for every organisation in every sector, especially when they're aiming to stay agile in this fast-paced environment. So just to bring to life what we're talking about here, how does the art of problem-solving, how does that facilitate that scalability and speed in decision-making within maybe some of those organisations that you're working with?
Sure. See, what we find is technology quotient of an organization can only become lower and lower and lower. That's a natural law. What do I mean by technology quotient? The technology that you understand divided by the total technology. In a world where your denominator is exponentially increasing relative to your numerator, the ratio is only going to get lower and lower and lower. So you have to prepare for a world which is going to, where your ability to learn new technologies is what is going to help you do well. How quickly, how much of it's not what your knowledge quotient is but what your learning quotient is. So learning is going to become far more important than knowing. And in such a world, you cannot wait for every technology. You cannot wait for that expert in that technology inside your organization. You have to try to experiment and become the expert or semi-expert as quickly as possible and keep moving, I call it, dynamic stable structures. What do I mean by that? If you're cycling, you are more stable when you're dynamic. If your cycle is still, it's hard to balance it, So that's the perspective that I would keep. And in such a world, interaction property is going to become far, far more important than anything else. So, what I see in large organizations is that on one hand, their business complexity is increasing. On the other hand, their ability to learn new technologies is decreasing. And the obfuscation of everything inside the organization, the spaghettification of the organization happens because of unaddressed complexity. So if you're an organization, you are supposed to operationalize and make ideas real. That's your business. That's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
What does that mean? Well, that means there's a journey of a concept. It goes from an idea in somebody's head as content to conversations between people to going into the compute environment. And from there, it being consumed by business and then it commercialized. So that's the journey. Now, the first thing that happens because of unaddressed complexity is that there's a lack of transparency of all of the content. The second thing is that there's a lack of persistence in conversations. You have the first conversation, then in the second conversation, one of the important people are missing. Third conversation, the right data is not there. So something or the other makes them, delay the process. And because of all of this, the cumulativeness of the work is missing and they land up doing anecdotal project-to-project work and not programmatic in their approach to work. In effect, how they feel is, if you pardon my French, their get-shit-done quotient is low, right? This is what we are trying to address. how do you have a better get shit done quotient? And, and how do you see the world of problems as connected? And how do you maintain the persistence of the work and the cumulativeness of that work? And for that to happen, you need better structure. And that structure or design, I like the word design better than structure. That design, you have to build a machine, and the machine has two parts. It has a design and an information flow. The design must, enable you to do more things with less people. B, do more things faster. C, do more things in a sustainable manner. And D, do things that you have not been asked. In other words, you have to be a little innovative. You cannot be waiting for the solution consumers or the business to tell you what they want. You have to be ahead of the curve, and that's when you're innovative, right? So these four things your design has to deliver, for the organization. And for that, you need two things. You need a quick way to build what I would call signal engines, where you take all of this data, remove the noise, come up with signals, and give answers. Now, it can be as simple as a dashboard or a report, or it can be as sophisticated as a predictive model and an AI engine. But whatever it is about a signal engine. That's one part of it. The second part of it is, how do you ask good questions, good prompts, and that's the inquiry engine. So what we do in our AOPS, Art of Problem Solving system, is build a structure that creates a kitchen which has good signal engines and inquiry engines. Build that machine inside. Everybody is interested about making new kinds of food. What we believe is that they need to build a new kind of kitchen before they can make new kind of food. So we're trying to build that kitchen for them, so which can be sustainable for them in making all these new kinds of food that they want.
I love how you're able to just cut through the BS there. As you said, it's all about getting shit done sometimes. And another thing that attracted me to you and wanted to get you on here is you also place a very strong emphasis on analysing the problem space by considering both the internal and external data sources. And I love that. It seems a great move away from binary thinking. So can you just discuss the importance of taking that holistic view, and also, again, when it comes to getting stuff done, how it aids organisations in crafting more effective solutions, because that's the destination they need to get to, right?
Yeah, I think the reality of the world that we live in today is that no one organization has the monopoly. And so to make a good decision, you need to get to the highest version of the truth that you can in the lowest possible amount of time, right? Now, and that's an optimization at some point between the big T of truth and the small t of time. Now, when you see it that way, what we're going to see is that these large, organizations, they have to look at sources of truth being of three kinds: data that they have inside the organization, data that they can get from outside the organization, and last but not the least, data that they can create, data that doesn't even exist today. So your ability to come up with, the truth from all these three types of data is going to become very, very important. But for that, you need a machine that is ready for taking all of that. If your machine is not ready for taking all of that, if your kitchen is not built for that, then you can't have the results that you want.
And the tech industry often witnesses that development of solutions, but they do that before a thorough understanding of the underlying problems. And we've seen a lot of that with the obsession with AI at the moment, with so many just wanting to be part of the AI narrative without understanding what problem they want to solve. So in your experience, what are the pitfalls of that approach, and how do you, at Mu Sigma, with your methodology, how do you address these issues by getting back to focusing on the problem?
I don't think there's a deep state in technology which is creating a conspiracy or anything like that. But but I find it funny that every 3 years we have a new word for the word technology.
Yeah.
Okay. So initially we called it, software as a service. Then we called it analytics and advanced analytics, and then big data and machine learning, and now AI.
Yeah.
Right. So we seem to, there's always a new actor in town who's the most important thing. So we find that quite, we've been through many of those things right now.
Yeah.
So I'm not undermining, the advancements in technology here. But what I find is that I think what we have is a lot of technology in search of use cases. There is scarcity in use cases and abundance of technology. So you have a lot of hammers who are looking at everything and saying, that's a nail, that's a nail, that's a nail. That's what I'm saying. And business is not sure about what they want to do, but they're very sure that they have to have the word AI in it. So that's a very dangerous situation to be in. If I were a CIO or a CTO, I would make sure that there is a systematic process to emphasize on the use case, because he or she is hearing a lot from these technology companies who operate with amazing marketing budgets and amazing PE ratios, where they can invest so much into filling your ears with buzzwords.
Yeah.
So your ability to create a noise cancelling filter, which has an orientation towards use cases, is going to become very, very important. So I feel, that's something, I think this really smart CIOs and CTOs will figure out a way to cut through the noise, and put more of an emphasis on use cases, and realize that impact happens at the use case, which means the business problem interacts with the technology solution. And it's at the point of interaction. The music is made at the point of that interaction. The clap happens, at the point of interaction. And if those two hands don't meet well, you don't have that clap. It's an emergent feature. So that's going to be the differentiating factor for success of the CIOs of the future and the CTOs of the future, who are going to be prepared for a world of algorithms.
Now you're talking my language. I absolutely love that. And that's one of the reasons, another reason I was excited to get you on here is because you've been instrumental in building real AI solutions across various sectors that solve real problems. So can you share a few standout examples where your team has been able to leverage AI to solve some of them complex business challenges? Because we've all heard the word AI everywhere we look, but a lot of businesses are like, yeah, but what we're solving here, what we're making better. So do you have any examples you could share just to bring this to life?
Many examples. We are working with large pharma companies on their, R&D ecosystem, on their drug development ecosystem. We are working with CPG and retail companies on revenue management, in their sales and marketing areas. All of these, one common theme among all of these problem spaces across pharma, CPG, technology, media and telecom, industrial, oil and gas companies, all of these things is the fact that these are complex environments where many things are happening inside the organization, and no one part of the organization is seeing the whole picture. So that's the common theme among all of these companies, and what we what we do, I mean, I can give you multiple examples, but I have to be, I cannot name those customers. But having said that, I could look, for large oil and gas company wants to improve its ability to improve its effectiveness in how their wells work. Now that's a very complex problem, and that has to be thought of as an entire program. And we help them with that. A large financial services company is looking to put an anomaly detection platform to understand how quickly they can respond to bad things that can happen in their ecosystem. A retailer wants to be able to real time look at videos inside a store and make decisions around, store layout and see how they can learn from video data of how people are behaving inside the stores rather than, most just transaction data that comes in, as sales and marketing and all of sales and so on and so forth. So I think the ability to make all of these decisions needs a level of sophistication that needs to be built. And technology is going from building execution systems to exploration systems. Execution systems were about making things happen. Okay, I have a process in place. I want to make things happen. Exploration systems are, hey, I have a process in place, but is there a different process that could, help me do things better? So I'm asking very different set of questions, and I'm far more inquisitive in exploration systems related to execution systems. For example, SAP enables, it's an ERP software that enables execution to a large extent inside an organization. But the kind of things we do in large Fortune 500 companies is, hey, being their business research lab in thinking about, hey, what are the various possibilities where they could take their business and how should they be asking questions? And to some extent, one measure of what we do for large companies is improving their curiosity quotient. In other words, can we reduce cost per question in the organization? Can they ask more questions at lesser cost? And cost meaning not just the money, but also the time. Can they do it faster? So that perspective is how we think about it. And we are pretty much helping, business and technology improve their interactions that they can have with each other to make all of this happen.
As you said a few moments ago, we've all been on somewhat of a journey. And it seems like every few years there's a different sheriff in town. The next big thing, remember the metaverse a few years ago, if you remember that, which seems to have fallen out of favour now. And given your background in management consulting and the establishment of Move Sigma as a category-defining firm, you've seen a lot of things, you've seen a lot of changes, but what key lessons have you learned about driving innovation, driving value through data analytics? Has that much changed when you are doing those things, or do you still keep to those core principles? What have you learned?
The core values with which we operate, we've been able to, they have remained constant for us, which is learning is more important than knowing, experimentation is more important than experts. Don't keep any secrets. Interaction property is far more important than intellectual property. Share, be generous, right? Because the economic rent associated with any idea, the time you have to make money out of the idea is becoming smaller and smaller and smaller. There's no way you can keep secrets in a super connected, hyper connected world. So it's better to accept that reality and constantly be making things happen for all stakeholders concerned. So that's the core philosophy. That's not changed. But having said that, because learning is more important than knowing, that on a day-to-day basis, the tools that you use are changing faster and faster and faster. The methods that we are doing things are also changing faster. The number of new things that new actors who are coming in. Initially, it used to be about just technology and business. Then math came in. Then behavioral finance and behavioral economics came in. And then design thinking came in. So now you have concepts from other industries coming in. So the number of players, who come into the game is increasing. Which means that you have to accommodate newer ways of thinking and be a little bit more flexible than before. And most organizations, get stuck in their ways very, very quickly. And the ability to get unstuck is hard. And especially if you're bigger, the problem is exacerbated even more.
I'm glad you mentioned there so many companies getting stuck in their ways, because when I was doing a little research on Mu Sigma, one of the things that really, really stood out for me is how you're renowned for having a vibrant, youthful workforce with a significant portion of your employees being trained through the Mu Sigma University. So can you tell me more about this and how this unique educational approach ultimately contributes to your company's success and innovation capacity? It feels incredibly refreshing.
Sure. See, we believe that, the wisdom of age has to be complemented with a lot of energy that young people bring to the table. That's how we make something good happen. But we also understood the fact that the kind of talent we need in this new world, the preparatory environments in the world, the colleges are not making those kind of people. We realized, therefore, that building talent was going to be important for the category, not just the company, but for the category. So we kind of had to take the natural responsibility as the category building company to build talent. So the first thing that we did was we kind of saw this as an opportunity to lead the way. And we basically had a solid recruiting program in place where we checked for both left-brained and right-brain thinking. So we would have an aptitude test, and then we would put them through a group discussion where they are encouraged to take opposite points of views and dialogue and debate and all of those things. We then get them to do a video synthesis test, which is they look at a video of 7 to 10 minutes and they have to write down the synthesis of it in a small piece of paper, which is a little bit bigger than your business card. And last but not the least, a fit interview, which checks mostly for growth mindset and curiosity. Once we recruit these kind of people, we put them through a training ecosystem, which starts with the basics of structured thinking and design thinking and storyboarding and communication with clarity to the core of hard skills, be it programming, applied math, statistics, econometrics, operations research, AI, all of those kind of things. And the last thing we do is how do you land the plane, on the ship? Yeah. Because it's not like you're landing the plane on an infinite, runway. You have a ship and you have to be able to land the plane on a business use case. So the ability to be practical and not get carried away by just the passion for technology is going to be important. So that means the purpose, has to interact with the passion. The passion of the practitioner has to interact with the purpose of a person who wants outcomes and business thinking. So those two things you have to have a harmony operator between the passion and purpose. And getting that put in place, as a culture means that you have to build systems in place that allow the input to output journey to interact well with the output to outcome journey. So this ability to have good harmony between these two journeys is going to become very, very important. And so we build systems in place. The machine that we built was an interaction between people, processes, and platforms. So we built a lot of software for our people. Think of it as the Iron Man suit. So we didn't say, oh, I need this special person. We said, we need good people, but we'll also give you an Iron Man suit. And so and if you just have the Iron Man suit, it's just a piece of metal. And if you just have a good-looking guy with a French beard, he's just Tony Stark. He's not Iron Man yet. So you want the interaction to actually happen. So that's what we did. And that enabled us to pretty much put about 15,000 people through this learning process. Another insight we had was that people do their best work when they are in their learning curve. They feel a sense of adrenaline at a very, very different level. They have a lot of gratitude for the problem space when they're learning. What happens post-learning is that they become full of themselves and they don't have as much of a gratitude for the problem space. And that comes in the way of doing things, as good as you can. And you will see this in many of the artists. The best work they would have done, the best songs they would have written would have been in their initial years. And there's a reason for that. I believe it comes from the growth mindset perspective and having gratitude for the opportunity at hand. So we kind of put all of these things together and built a business model with training and as a core part of it. And many of our customers now encourage us to build citizen decision scientists in their environments. And we've become, we've taken our learning ecosystems into their world also. And we are finding that to be, a big differentiator. I'll give you one data point. There are about 15,000 people who have gone through this program. There are 10 consumer internet unicorns in India, and the head of analytics and decision sciences and AI for all of them, is an ex-Mu Sigma. So you will find that the alumni ecosystem of Mu Sigma is very, very strong, and that makes a big difference for us.
It really does. It's absolutely inspirational to hear, and your passion for this too also comes across. And obviously, as we look towards the future, it gets harder and harder to predict what that future will look like, because it seems to be moving at breakneck speed right now, the pace of technological change. But I'm curious, from your vantage point here, how do you see the landscape of business intelligence and decision sciences? How do you see them evolving, and what role do you see you guys playing shaping that future? And are there any emerging trends or technologies that you're particularly excited about? Maybe it's the next sheriff that's going to be coming into town in the future, but is there anything that excites you at the moment?
I've taken a very philosophical perspective towards this.
Yeah.
And, my philosophy is that Jack knows jack shit. I think the world of unknown, the world of unknown is only going to get increased. That's a law of physics.
Yeah.
And it's, and having a realistic perspective towards that will encourages me to not be so, say that this is the landscape that's going to be there.
Yeah.
I hate ability to, my intention is not to predict and, be surrender to the fact that the world is going to be unpredictable. And when I surrender to that, kind of I'm at peace with the systems that you can put in place to the perspective that there's going to be a multiplicity of technologies, there's a multiplicity of business models, a multiplicity of algorithms, and in that world, you have to quickly figure out ways to curate, things very quickly and combine things very quickly to achieve business outcomes for business stakeholders. And that's a very practical perspective, and probably I see more authentic than saying that AI is the next best thing and I'm going to do everything about it. It's going to be about AI. And, so I feel it's, so many of the companies have started calling themselves AI companies. They change their last names every time. That's, very bad to change your last name every time somebody becomes popular. It's you should be very proud of who you are and, and, have a little bit of a perspective towards the fact that all of these are just tools. They'll come and they will go, and they should go, because I think I'd rather be a good carpenter rather than get excited about the latest hammer. So that's how I would see this. But having said that, you cannot ignore, these technologies. You have to engage with them. You have to play with them, but not get, obsessed about the tool. But I would rather get obsessed about the interaction of the tool with the business use case. So, it's just the point of obsession is focus is at a different place. So that's how I would put it.
Yeah, I would completely agree with you as well. I think it was 6-7 years ago that so many businesses were changing that last part of their name to a blockchain company, and their share price was going through the roof. And they're probably the same companies that are now AI companies in a lot of cases. So I cannot thank you enough for coming on and sharing your insights. But before I let you go, I want you to leave one final gift to everyone listening, and that is either a song that we can add to our Spotify playlist or a book that you would recommend that we can add to our Amazon wish list. But what would you like to leave everyone listening with?
The book I would suggest is Anti-Fragile by Nassim Taleb. It gives you a nice fundamental framework for thriving in a world of change.
Yeah.
Appreciating the fact that, it's, what does it mean to deal with the stress factors associated with the change, and not just look for resilience, but look to do more than resilience. So you have to thrive rather than just the goal cannot be to not break because of change, but the goal has to be to be better because of change. And that's what Anti-Fragile actually talks about. It's a great book. And I think the fundamental principles from that actually apply very, very well to a world of changing technologies and thriving despite in a world of changing technologies.
Love it. I'll get that added straight to our Amazon wish list for people to check out. And for anyone listening, wanting to find out more information about Move Sigma there, we've covered so much in a short amount of time, but anyone that wants to find out more, contact you or your team, find out more about that university and the great work you're doing there, where would you like to point everyone listening?
I think, it's www.mu-sigma.com.
Awesome. I'll get that link added to the show notes so people can find that and even contact your team nice and easily too. And as I said, we covered so much there, from analysing the problem space, the problems with building technology before you fully understand the problem that the tech aims to solve. We could talk about this stuff for hours, but just a big thank you for taking the time out of your day to sit down and share your story and your insights. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Neil, for having me.
I think in my conversation with Dhiraj today, we ventured into the heart of problem solving, exploring how Mu Sigma's unique perspective on interactions rather than isolated entities is actually paving the way for breakthroughs in decision sciences. From the importance of adapting to new technologies without getting lost in trends, to fostering a culture of learning and curiosity. Dhiraj was able to share his insights that challenge the conventional wisdom of the business world. And as we reflect on the role of AI in solving real-world challenges and the future of decision-making, for me, it becomes clear that the path forward is both complex and exhilarating. And I could have chatted to him for another hour. We're talking about so many different things outside of technology and business, from politics to global politics and beyond. And From this moment on, I'm going to call him my spirit animal. I'm convinced that we are all connected, no matter where you're listening in the world. There is a spiritual side of me that just believes that we're all connected. So a big thank you to Dhiraj for being a real breath of fresh air today. But over to you. What are your thoughts on integrating these approaches into your own problem-solving practices? How can we apply the lessons from Mu Sigma to navigate the complexities of our own increasingly interconnected business, life and world? This is where I ask you to share your thoughts with me. Let's continue this conversation on leveraging technology to make better decisions in both business and life.